Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again with a bit of a new character, and I wanted to tackle a Thorns Barb. I actually had no intention of playing Barb since release, but we did just have a quick think about Thorns and thought, hey, you know what? An attempt at that does sound kind of fun. And thusly, here is a Thorns Barb, and it was born. I had, like I said, pretty much no intention of playing Barb. Don't really like the aesthetic of the skills too much. Just, bonk, bonk, hit things with a hammer. But the Thorns just sounded like such a fun meme that I had to go in on it. And Barb does have a few Thorns synergies. And it's actually surprisingly fun and a novelty to have things basically kill themselves against your massive amount of Thorns. And it seems to be a very strong early to mid game build. Right from the get-go, once you pick up some Thorns and the passives from the Barb tree, start using the Thorns potion at level 5, things will routinely just one-shot themselves against you, and it can create for some pretty satisfying wave style mob gameplay. Of course, you can incorporate stuff on top of it, so in this case I've got like Rend as the secondary. That's a bleed skill, and yeah, you're gonna need some of that because there's plenty of mobs out there that don't attack you super well. There's plenty of bosses out there that don't like hit you at all, and I'll also be honest, if you play a Thorns Barb, you will notice some of the AI in this game is pretty fucking terrible. At least up until the point that you get to like World Tier 3 or 4 or something, because that's when things are supposed to get smarter and attack you better and faster and all that. But like, this character went through World Tier 2 almost entirely. Well, it did almost, it did go entirely in World Tier 2 up to level 50 or 45, and it did highlight some of the mobs that would just like run around and kind of just strafe around you and do nothing from time to time, and like have 10-second attack windows, stuff like that. But by and large, the entire process for this character up to level 50 was insanely smooth, and then it even let me take on the Capstone dungeon at level 55 and just straight up face tank brute force the end fight. Because with this build, you do build pretty tanky. Like, you can't not, you have to, given that you're taking a lot of hits, and the nature of getting more Thorns involves getting more life as well. So the end Elias, who's level 70, Capstone dungeon, I just made a point of basically not moving, tanking every hit, and Thorns, you could see it kicks in for a certain amount of damage, depending on buffs that are up, because it is going to be centered around war cries. Challenging Shout gives you a lot, and war cry I think gives us berserking, and berserking also gives us Thorns. So currently you do need a couple of the war cries to up your Thorns damage, but on top of that, there's going to be a unique item that I have yet to get. It's Razor Plate. That will at this stage give me a huge amount of extra Thorns damage. Like, my tooltip on Thorns is maybe 2k, and I think a Razor Plate can give you like an extra 13,000 or some shit like that, which would mean that my current Thorns at its best, which is hitting for like 20 or 30k, would probably be hitting for about 100k. So we finished the Capstone at level 55, immediately went into World Tier 4, even at level 55, was actually comfortably clearing dungeons and events and hell tides, and that is pretty surprising. Like, it is usually a bit of a difficult transition period into World Tier 4 if you bump up quite early until you get some Ancestral Gear and stuff, but this is earlier than Ancestral Gear. That starts at level 60, and Thorns Barb can tank pretty damn well in World Tier 4 and does adequate enough damage to start going through it. So I've been doing a few Hell Tides. I've barely started World Tier 4, so I don't really have much in the way of endgame progression for you. I just wanted to show you what it's like thus far and tell you that it's a really nice start to the game and really good to get through up until World Tier 4. So with that, let me show you my character at the moment. Alright, so it's nothing too intricate, just a quick rundown of what it takes to have a bit of thorns in your build. And I think most barbs at level should probably incorporate a decent bit of thorns in their build, regardless of if it's like your focus or not. Level 57, you can see we've got a bunch of armor. By level 55 or something, I was at like damn near 100% reduction from the armor side of things, because you just get a lot of armor as a barb, and as you're scaling life and strength and everything as well. A lot of life, attack power doesn't really fucking matter. So the focal point is basically just a bit of thorns coming from the tree. You've got where are we? Over here, you start out, you grab outburst thorns, and you also gain thorns for your life. And then some increased thorns as well, and all of your thorns will start making enemies bleed just a little bit. It's a pretty insignificant amount of damage, but it does combo well with bleeding effects slow enemies, so you can basically guarantee all enemies are always going to be slowed, and thus start scaling things like enemies slowed and crowd controlled. But for the most part, just using Flay, which also gives you a thorns thing once you stack it up, so just auto attacking with Flay pretty much always. You can use, other skills and stuff, but I went with a full Thorns perspective. So Flay into Rend, and then Rend just gives us a bit of extra something to do and a decent bleed synergy. We then go Rallying Cry, which gives us some tankiness, Fortify, etc. Unstoppable, some Fortify, max life. Over here, grabbed Warcry. Because you want berserking, because there is a legendary power that gives you berserking thorns. You can get it from the imprint occultist thing, but otherwise I just found this one at like level, I don't know, 50 or something, 40, and then started using it when I could. I didn't use it for like the first 40 levels or some shit, and it was still okay. But the goal will be to have berserking uptime a good bit more than just the Rallying Cry. And we'll get to that in a sec. Just the War Cry, sorry. Went Shout skill duration, went this so that we could have some sort of life regen, life heal. Leap Slam, just, Leap Slam's fun, gets you over things, place to place. Pit Fighter for damage against close and some damage reduction. And then I started scaling crit as well for the bleed portion of this build. We have bleeding vulnerable, we have damage taken fortifies you, and then fortify fucking damage, life, whatever. And then lastly, I'm just getting a bit of crit damage. The build I doubt is complete. We'll still probably fine-tune some stuff here or there. And then also Gushing Wound, which is once again going for bleed synergy and stuff. But don't know exactly what I'll do yet for maximum thorns. We'll see. It's still a bit of a work in progress. This is what took me through to around level 50. The key things you want, there is Thorns damage dealt has a 40% chance to deal damage to all enemies around you. So this is also from the Occultist for imprinting. It's the only real, actual, interesting Thorns like scaling thing out there. I figured maybe there'd be something that lets you apply your Thorns damage to enemies. It doesn't exist. It's a D3 thing, pretty much. So yeah, when things, it's a good game changer though. When things start hitting you, then when one mob hits you, you might splash all your thorns around you, and that does help you out quite a lot. And 80% would go quite a long way as well. This one's just a basic imprint though. And then yeah, this thorns thing over here, that's basically the main staple of the build. Otherwise, I'm just doing some damage reduction, bit of heal, and then focusing a bit on core skills. Armor gain while I'm getting hit and doing stuff. Sorry, while I'm hitting stuff, which does proc off thorns. So yeah, even while I'm getting hit. Crit skills, nothing. Basic attack speed. So it really is basically just a couple of legendary powers, and then you're looking for thorns on your gear. So you can get thorns on pants, helm, and amulet. Not helm, sorry. Chest. Pants, chest, and amulet. So we're basically going to be looking for thorns, either a base thorns roll or a couple of good defensive rolls or life roll, something like that, and then enchanting thorns on yourself. You'll only really be able to do the enchanting stuff while leveling if you've got like a bunch of gold established from a previous character, because it is costly to take items that don't have thorns and put thorns on them. just because of the nature of the enchanting system. Very expensive. My amulet currently doesn't have any thorns, but it did up until pretty recently. I just got a more defensive one. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Just a bunch of life. Try and scale some other shit if you can. Eventually, like a lot of our focus, I think, is going to go into rend. So the crit damage scaling, and that keystone, and then yeah, we'll see how that goes. But on top of that, I am trying to do mostly thorns. And if we ever get a razor plate, then that might take thorns to another level. But for now, just make sure you keep upgrading your gems. Gems are a pretty big one as well. And then just get thorns wherever you can get it. My weapons are basically just trying to get some strength and, you know, various bits of damage. Damage to slowed enemies is pretty good. I aren't reliably vulnerable yet, but maybe we will soon. That is actually what I wanted to get to. I will quite likely get rid of Leap Slam in the future in favor of Steel Grasp, because Steel Grasp will pull enemies towards you, they'll start hitting you, but on top of that, you will make them vulnerable and will have more berserking uptime. So, do love me some Leap Slam, but I'm pretty sure we need all the war cries, and I'm pretty sure this will be better in the long run. We'll see how it goes. And then the Paragon, haven't really done anything too special, just started getting some defense and whatnot. But there's no real actual Paragon nodes for Thorns, nothing specific for Thorns. Instead, we'll just grab a couple of semi-useful things. So I'm going to go with Blood Rage to keep berserking up, just on autopilot pretty decently. Damage to bleeding enemies, just stuff like that. Generic sort of damage. And aside from that, I think if you need a bit more info, I think what we will be grabbing is enemies have been affected, I believe. Some of these are just outright garbage, by the way. Actually, I'm not even sure. I think maybe this one. Yeah. So this one, and then the rest, we're basically just going to be looking for small nodes from memory, because the legendary nodes just don't do almost anything for us. Maybe some tankiness, maybe some just generic nodes, but that's as far as I can tell at this point, at around level 50. And I do like the Barb's look, though. I think the Barb just makes way more sense as a, you know, big, strong character than the droid version, so I'm more attracted to that aesthetic. Made myself a nice little Bollywood Barb here, and he means business. But yeah, that's a Thorns Barb. I hope you guys having fun with whatever you're doing. If you want to level a character that gets through the campaign pretty cleanly, it's not the most engaging gameplay, don't get me wrong, but it is satisfying, at least for me, in isolation compared to the other characters. Not even thinking about how it compares, it's just you, Barb, running around trying to get things to hit you, and it's pretty fun. So we'll see how Anoint's beef goes in the future, but for now, thank you very much for watching. See you guys next time.